Welcome to another episode of the Untold Story of the Protestant Reformation, episode 11. We have just finished discussing the Leipzig debate, and we are in the fall of 1519. The three participants, Johann Eck, Martin Luther, and Andreas Karlstadt, continue to battle in the presses, if you would. And they're not alone. The feud between the two sides is escalating, and it's clear that the lines are being drawn. Several universities and theologians condemn Martin Luther, Andreas Karlstadt, and the Wittenberg staff for their writings, while others support them and promote them. Let's move into the spring of 1520. In March of 1520, Johann Eck is at the papal court meeting with Pope Leo. And he suggests to Pope Leo that Martin Luther, Andreas Karlstadt, and the colleagues at Wittenberg University are being vastly underestimated. He mentions that he did meet with Frederick the Wise, who refuses to do anything about any of the conspirators. Johann Eck advises Pope Leo to excommunicate both Martin Luther and Andreas Karlstadt. Meanwhile, Frederick the Wise has now come into a crap load of money due to the election of 1519. And this is when the propaganda campaign explodes. Historians note that from the year 1520 to 1525, there were over 7,000 publications of anti-Catholic propaganda. Not copies, different publications. If you're doing your math, that's 3 to 4 per day. That also includes Lucas Cranach's woodcut images. Notice that it's a concerted effort. While Martin Luther is calling those in Rome the whores and buffoons, Cranach is creating images of demons defecating in the Pope's mouth. So they're all creating these publications. Melanchthon, Agricola, and Andreas Karlstadt, along with Luther. You just don't hear about it because every Protestant Reformation story focuses on Martin Luther. So naturally, the pro-Catholic materials or publications, such as the manuscripts or the thesis, they just get drowned out, suffocated by the oversaturation of propaganda. I believe the ratio is 1 to 6 of pro-Catholic to anti-Catholic publications. And the question comes up, well, was it popular? Was it well received? And the answer is, it was popular and well received where the dukes, princes, and magistrates wanted it to be popular. But in those places that were very pro-Catholic and run by a bishop, such as Cologne, Trier, or Mainz, though the propaganda was not popular. Interestingly enough, Saxony was actually divided. Frederick the Wise was pro-Martin Luther or pro-Andreas Karlstadt, whatever you want to call it at this point, pro-Protestant, while Ducal Saxony, Duke George the Beard, was very pro-Catholic. So it was not very popular in Leipzig, but it was extremely popular in all of Frederick the Wise's towns. In June of 1520, when the cardinals are putting together the papal bull that will excommunicate Luther and Karlstadt, Martin Luther just flat out calls for war. And this shouldn't be too shocking. Those at Wittenberg, they've been on this trajectory now for 2 years. Now it's really out in the open. They want blood. And I'll just paraphrase some of the shocking quotes. You could make a book out of Martin Luther's shocking quotes, but some of them are, we need to wash our hands in their blood. Enough talk with words. We need to fight with steel. And all priests, bishop, and cardinals are enlisted in Satan's army. Keep in mind, this is all endorsed by Frederick the Wise, so it is clear that he and those at Wittenberg want bloodshed, they want a war, The question is, how are they going to go about doing it? In August of 1520, Martin Luther publishes To the Christian Nobles of the German Nation. This publication is the battle plan. This is how they're going to separate from the Catholic Church in Germany. It is a call to arms to the German nobles to take action and violence against the Catholic Church, but your incentive is going to be that you will be in control of the churches in your area. And Martin Luther, Frederick the Wise, and Spalatin, and Melanchthon, they've all worked out the logistics. And the logistics are this. There are 3 walls or 3 barriers that need to be broken down in order to separate from the Catholic Church. So let's pretend I'm a noble. I would like to be in charge of the churches. I'd like to have that property. I'd like that orphanage to turn into a vacation home for my mistress. What are these walls and what is your plan? The first wall, Martin Luther claims, is we need to get rid of the priests. So what he says is that the priests and the laity are on a level playing field. There is no difference between a priest and the laity. The laity can do any duty that a priest can do. So this will get rid of all the priests. Number 2, who's going to interpret the Bible? And Martin Luther says, you guys can. We're giving you the power to interpret it however you want to. And number 3, what about the church councils? Martin Luther says, no, we're going to get rid of them. You guys have full control. Do whatever the hell you want to do. So you can see how this plan would incentivize nobles, dukes, princes, and magistrates. At the same time, it seems he's bamboozling the middle and lower classes into thinking that this plan is biblical. In my own opinion, I'll just tell you, I'm somewhat shocked that this is the plan they came up with. And these guys are supposedly all doctrines in theology, and this is their argument that the priesthood is unbiblical. And I don't know how you explain the Levite tribe or the high priest in the Old Testament, and the church council in Acts chapter 15. I don't know how they explain that. I don't think they care because it's all about power. In later months, Martin Luther will follow his declaration of war with the Babylonian captivity of the church and the freedom of a Christian, published in November of 1520, where he goes into justification by faith alone, that there's nothing in this life that you can do that would either help or hinder your salvation. In October of 1520, both Martin Luther and Andreas Karlstadt receive their papal bull of excommunication, where they are to go to Rome for a trial. Of course, they're not going to do it, but they are given another chance to recant. Obviously, they're not going to do it, but they are stripped of their priestly duties. Now they are just normal people. They are the laity, just like Martin Luther claims that everybody wants to be. In the next lecture, we'll go over the events of 1521, the Diet of Worms. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Thank you for watching.